Welcome to our conversation today, where we dive deep into the heart of common sense. What is common sense, you may ask? Well, it's a term we often throw around, but when it comes to defining it, we may find ourselves at a loss for words. Common sense, in its simplest form, is the basic ability to perceive, understand, and judge things. It's a fundamental instinct we all have, expected to be shared by nearly everyone without the need for debate. It's the instinctive understanding that tells you not to touch a hot stove or to look both ways before crossing the street. Sounds simple, right? But let's delve a little deeper. Common sense is more than just an instinct. It's a guide, a compass that navigates us through the complexities of daily life. It helps us in making decisions, big or small, from knowing when to grab a bite because we're hungry, to understanding when it's appropriate to voice our opinions in a social situation. Think of it like an internal radar, constantly scanning our surroundings and situations, helping us make sense of the world around us. It's the voice in our head that says, maybe it's not the best idea to go for a swim during a thunderstorm, or perhaps it's better to save some money for a rainy day instead of spending it all at once. In essence, common sense is our internal decision-making mechanism. It's not about high IQ or academic knowledge. It's about practical wisdom and understanding the world in a way that promotes survival and well-being. It's about being aware of the consequences of our actions and being able to predict the likely outcomes. However, common sense isn't just about self-preservation. It's also about empathy and consideration for others. It's understanding that if you wouldn't like something done to you, others probably wouldn't either. It's the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated, put into practice. So remember, common sense is essentially our instinctive understanding and decision-making mechanism. It's a tool we all possess, an inherent part of our human nature, and a key component in navigating the intricate labyrinth that is life. Now let's unravel a story that underscores the significance of common sense. Picture this: a man named Tom who is brilliant in every sense of the word. His mind is a treasure trove of knowledge filled with equations, theories, and historical facts. He excels in academics, masters every subject, and is the go-to person for intellectual discussions. His intelligence is, without a doubt, commendable. However, when it comes to practical life situations, Tom often finds himself in a pickle. One day, Tom decides to try his hand at cooking. With a recipe book in one hand and a spatula in another, he steps into the kitchen. His mind, teeming with the science of cooking, knows exactly how the ingredients will interact with each other. Yet once he starts, he struggles with the simplest of tasks. He can't figure out the right amount of salt or when to flip the pancake. The result? A meal that's barely edible. Despite his extensive knowledge about the science of cooking, Tom's lack of common sense in the kitchen led to a culinary disaster. Another day, Tom finds himself at a busy intersection. He's waiting to cross the street. He knows the traffic rules, understands the significance of the traffic lights, and is aware of the speed at which the cars are moving. Yet he struggles to cross the street. He can't seem to judge when it's safe to step onto the road. In his attempt to cross, he causes a minor traffic jam with honking cars and frustrated drivers. Again, despite his superior intellect, Tom's lack of common sense puts him in a precarious situation. This tale of Tom is not unique. Many of us, in our pursuit of knowledge, often overlook the importance of common sense. We forget that common sense is the cornerstone of practical life. It helps us navigate through our daily routines, make sound decisions, and avoid unnecessary complications. Let's take a moment to think about it. What good is knowledge if we can't apply it to our everyday life? If we can't judge when to cross a busy street or how to prepare a simple meal? This is where common sense comes in. It bridges the gap between knowledge and practical application. It allows us to use our knowledge in a way that benefits us and those around us. Common sense is not about being the smartest or the most knowledgeable. It's about understanding the world around us and making decisions that are in our best interest. It's about being practical, being mindful, and being aware. It's about seeing the obvious, understanding the simple, and acknowledging the practical. We often underestimate the value of common sense, but as our story illustrates, it's an essential facet of our lives. It's the unseen force that guides our actions, shapes our decisions, and influences our interactions. As our story illustrates, sometimes common sense holds more value than bookish knowledge. Having understood the importance of common sense, the question arises, how do we apply it in our daily lives? Well, let's dive into that. One of the most practical ways to apply common sense is to think before we act. Seems simple, right? However, in the hustle and bustle of our fast-paced lives, we often forget to do this. We react impulsively without considering the potential outcomes. But by taking a moment to pause, to assess the situation, we can make decisions that are more thoughtful, more measured, and ultimately, more beneficial. Let's take this a step further. Not only should we think before we act, but we should also consider the consequences of our actions. This is where common sense really comes into play. It's about understanding that our actions have an impact, not just on ourselves, but on others around us. It's about realizing that what might seem like a good idea in the short term could have negative effects in the long run. It's about making choices that are not just good for now, but good for the future too. Another key aspect of applying common sense is learning from past experiences. We've all made mistakes. We've all had moments where we've thought, if only I'd known then what I know now. Well, here's the good news. We can use those experiences, those lessons, to guide our future decisions. We can use them to make better, more informed choices. And isn't that what common sense is all about? Lastly, trust your gut feeling. It's often a result of common sense. It's that little voice in your head that says, hey, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Or yes, this feels right. Don't ignore it. It's your intuition, your instinct, your common sense, guiding you towards the best possible outcome. So applying common sense can often be as simple as pausing, reflecting, and then acting. And as we navigate through life, let's remember to use our common sense as the incredible tool it is. Like two sides of a coin, common sense too has its pros and cons. Let's start with the pros, shall we? First and foremost, common sense is instrumental in making practical decisions. It's like having a built-in compass that points you towards the most straightforward solutions. Imagine you're in a dark room, and you need to find a way out. Common sense tells you to reach out for a light switch, not to start dismantling the furniture. Secondly, common sense helps us avoid unnecessary complications. It strips situations down to their bare essentials, removing frivolous details that may cloud our judgment. It's like having a superpower that simplifies life's complexities. Lastly, common sense promotes harmony in social interactions. It's the unwritten code that guides our behavior in society, reminding us to respect personal space, listen more than we speak, and not to interrupt others mid-sentence. It's the invisible glue that holds our social fabric together. But, as with all things, there are also cons to common sense. One downside is the potential for oversimplification of complex issues. Not everything in life can be broken down into simple, digestible pieces. Some situations require a deep dive, an exploration beyond what common sense may dictate. In these instances, relying solely on common sense may lead to superficial understandings or misguided actions. Another risk is relying too much on instincts without adequate information. Common sense, after all, is largely based on our past experiences and learned behaviors. If we lean on it too heavily without seeking additional information or perspectives, we may miss out on novel solutions, innovative ideas, or important nuances. So, while common sense is undeniably valuable, it shouldn't be the only tool in our problem-solving toolkit. It's essential to balance it with critical thinking, open-mindedness, and a willingness to explore beyond the familiar. Indeed, common sense can be a double-edged sword, but its benefits often outweigh the drawbacks. It is our responsibility to wield it wisely, harnessing its strengths while being mindful of its limitations. Imagine a world where everyone applies common sense, a place where harmony and understanding are not mere ideals, but the very fabric of society. This, dear listener, is not a fanciful dream, but a potential reality within our grasp. Common sense is the great equalizer. It transcends social, economic, and cultural barriers, promoting empathy and mutual respect. It's the guiding compass that helps us navigate the complexities of human relationships and fosters a society where communication is clear, intentions are understood, and actions are thoughtful. But it's not enough to merely possess common sense. We must also cultivate it, nurture it, and most importantly, apply it in our everyday lives. It's in the simple things, holding the door for someone, being mindful of our surroundings, taking responsibility for our actions. So, let's strive to make our world a place where common sense prevails, for it's the simple things that make the biggest difference.